We're going to put on a little demonstration now of putting the jury and the witness in the moment, trying to get the jury a sense of what's really going on, what it really looked like, what it really felt like, what was really happening. And to do that, we're going to do it in the context of an excited utterance and laying the predicate for an excited utterance exception under 8033 to the hearsay rule.
The next downtown local 6 train to Woodland City Hall will arrive in 2 minutes.
You okay?
You okay?
Oh my goodness.
God! Oh my God! Oh!
I'm a transit cop. What's going on here?
She pushed me! She pushed me!
Officer Krupke, how are you employed?
I'm employed by the New York City Police Department.
And do you have a specific a zone or a patrol area that you're responsible for?
Yes, it's the 34th Street Station.
And on the evening of July 15th at 5:30 p.m., where were you at that point?
I was on at the 34th Street Station on the mezzanine level.
And was there anything that drew your attention at that time?
Well, at some point, right around 5:30, I heard a commotion, people yelling and screaming. It sounded like it was coming down by the tracks.
Now, how many people were in the station at that time?
Many. Hundreds and hundreds. It was rush hour.
Is that common for rush hour?
Very common.
Okay, so there was commotion. What did you do in response to that?
I tried to find out where the commotion was coming from, find out what was happening.
Now, the commotion that you heard, could you describe that, please, for the jury?
A lot of yelling, a lot of screaming, and that was really about it. Just a lot of yelling and screaming, but it was more than the usual noise that I would hear at that time.
Were you able to locate the source of the commotion?
Yes, I kept looking down by the tracks, and then I saw a group of people, so I descended the stairs to see what was going on.
Okay, and what was going on at that point?
I saw a group of people standing around, sort of in a circle, and then I noticed that there were 2 men carrying a woman who looked like she was badly hurt.
Now, when you say badly hurt, what do you mean by that?
Well, I could see that there was blood all over her clothes. It didn't seem like she could walk very well, and she seemed to be in a great amount of distress.
Okay. Now, at that point, were you able to observe her face?
Yes, I was able to observe her face.
And could you describe the state of her eyes at that point?
Her eyes, when I looked at her, they were wide open, wide open.
And was there blood on her face as well?
There was blood on her face, there was blood in her hair, blood on her clothes.
Now, you described some bystanders. Was there blood on their clothes as well?
I don't recall.
Now, in terms of her facial expression, could you describe that for the jury?
It seemed to have a look of sheer panic on her face, and her eyes were like bugged wide open.
Were you able to observe her state of breathing at that point?
She seemed to be breathing pretty rapidly.
And were you able to observe the rest of her body?
I could observe her entire body, yes.
And did any other part of her body appear to be in distress?
Well, it seemed as if she could not stand or walk on her own because she was being assisted by 2 men.
Now, at that point, what was she looking at when you came upon her?
Initially, I don't know what she was looking at, but it wasn't me. When I identified myself as a New York City transit officer, she looked at me.
Okay. And did you return the look from her?
I did.
And did you take any action at that point?
I did. After I identified myself as a New York City transit officer, what's going on here, then she said to me,
Objection. The officer is about to testify as to what the victim said to him, and that would amount to inadmissible hearsay.
Counsel, how do you respond to that?
Your Honor, the witness has testified to a statement made by a declarant in response to a startling event while still under the stress of the event. It's an excited utterance, an exception to the hearsay rule.
Thank you. Objection overruled.
Officer Krupke, please tell the jury, what did the woman say?
the woman said, she pushed me as they were carrying her away.